Hello and welcome back to sim.bc where it is 1940 and I have missed messages and missed calls from me mate and from me bro. Yeah, we're gonna go through and sort that out. And I just ditched, or well, I shouldn't say ditched, I just left. Yeah, that's not better either, is it? Me mate for studying French because apparently our French test tomorrow is at 7 or 8 a.m. and not at 1:30 p.m. as I thought. So that's only what, an 8-hour difference, 7 hour difference, something like that. No biggie, I'll pull through. No, but yes, it's a bit of a huge difference actually in thought. Anyway, but that's not what you want to hear, is it? I'm just gonna run through my day and talk about that I'm not having the lamp that I'm always praising because I'm actually in school, and I thought, why not? Because usually I sit over there or over there or over, at these normal places. But I thought, why not take the director's chair and start practicing for, being the CEO, the manager. Gonna run through some fast things before we get into high context and low context cultures, and that is one, I've applied for my internships. That is correct. I applied for like 6 or 7 internships at Blizzard, all the ones that I was able and required to do, like I was able to, where I fulfilled all of the requirements and where I was able to apply. I would love to get in there, and I left this YouTube channel as the, what should I say, as a digital portfolio because I thought, why not? This is me. This is the best way I have of presenting myself. Even though I had my cover letter that I tailored specifically around Blizzard and that I really put, I would love to say that I put my heart and soul into it. But I thought, well, since I'm including this, and since I have so many stuff to actually study for right now, because we had this huge presentation today, we will have a huge presentation on Friday, and I'm having this, French exam tomorrow. I thought, why not get it over with? That's the wrong mindset when you write a cover letter, I know, but I spent 3 hours on it mainly because I wanted to customize it towards Blizzard, and I'm quite happy with the result, and I sent in my resume as well. So that was all good, all fine, all dandy. Today, as I said, we presented the enterprise and leadership the business plan that I've been working on for the last 3 weeks, and the teacher just praised us. She was like, oh, I can see that you are putting your heart and soul into this, and I'm like, yes, I am. Me mates on the other, or my colleagues, so to say, they're there, but that's it. No, I'm not gonna say that. They all did a tremendous job. Sure, I wanted to really, be not friends with them this morning, just put it as polite as possible. However, when I actually arrived in school, that all changed. I saw the team, I saw them in action, saw them working, and I just understood that, well, this is going to be quite good anyway, even though the teacher kind of praised me very directly for the thing. But whatever, we're a team, we're taking it as team praise. So it was all fine, all good. So, but that's not why you're here today. No, you're here today because we're going to talk about Hal's model of cultural values. And what is his model of cultural values? Well, as I kind of teased quite just now, it is the cultures can use low or high context communication. And what is low context and what is high context? The question on everybody's minds. Well, I'm here to tell you. Low context cultures tend to communicate directly and explicitly through words. Now, a good example of this is yours truly, because I am one of really wanting to push my opinion forward. I was going to have a bit of a survey that we did yesterday in our last negotiation techniques class. However, that survey is at home since I am not home yet because we're studying in school. I cannot show you because that was supposed to support my point, because we had some choices and I chose all of the more aggressive choices in negotiation, the very forcing and competing ones, whilst leaving the avoiding ones, barely untouched. Anyway, that's probably better saved for another day. But what I was going to say is that I am truly a textbook definition of low context. Well, probably not the textbook's definition, because I know my shortcomings and I'm working on them. I know I've said that a couple of times, but I keep reiterating on that point because it makes sense. that I need to, not that I need to say it, but for me, I need to say that I'm working on it, because, you know, self-praise. But yeah, low context communications cultures are basically people who are from different countries who are getting right to the point. As I discussed 2 days ago, I would like to say, yesterday or 2 days ago, with the different ways of going about structure in a negotiation, where you go through different points in a certain amount of order. You know, the US, the Western Europe, as I defined them yesterday or 2 days ago, whenever it was. You know, when you're doing a video each day, they kind of blend together sometimes. Unfortunately, at least the chronology, sorry, of the orders. But I discussed that the US tends to be more working through each point directly, and they also tend to be more direct in what they're saying. So, for instance, their business talk might be something more like, this is the point, this is the problem, this is what we have to do, this is the solution we need to introduce in order to solve the problem. Whilst on the other hand, when you have high context culture, they communicate less directly, with meaning inferred from the surrounding context. Now, what does this mean? Well, this means that they talk a lot about, well, I shouldn't say talk a lot about, but they talk a lot through, and they push lots of opinions through nonverbal communication for once, and lots of norms. Different words and different sayings might mean different things in different contexts, in different cultures. So if I say, you know, the classic, as I said before, the classic example of someone nodding, in my opinion, this is yes. However, in India, this is yes, apparently. The Indian head wobble. That could be a kind of a norm, a key understanding of a key norm that someone is taking for granted in one in one cultural context, and is meant in a completely different way. So you need to pick up on these signals that are produced in a high context culture a lot more than you have to do in a low context culture, because in the low context culture, I'm gonna take off the watch yet again so I don't hit it, because I realized it makes sounds even when I'm not hitting the table, which is kind of unfortunate actually. But anyway, as I said, in a low context culture, you tend to be more direct. That is the entire point of it. You are more direct with your wording, you're more direct with what you want, you're more direct with, yeah, kind of everything. However, as I said, in a low context culture, you're looking to interpret a lot more stuff around you. You interpret the surrounding. If you're coming into a meeting, how does it look like? Is it clean? Is it not? How do the people dress? Do they dress accordingly to what you assume is the standard? Are you above the standard? And in that case, are you actually making fun of them in some way indirectly, even though they will not perceive it that way because they are of a low context culture? All of these different ideas that you have to take into mind or take into consideration. And as I said before, this is so important. If you're going to a place where there is a certain dominant culture, let's say it is the low context one, and you're coming from a high context culture, you need to be able to be more direct, even though you're not. Even though you might think that this is so rude, I cannot do it. In order to fit in with this dominant culture, and in order to actually compete and be taken seriously, you maybe have to. Same goes with the low context culture if they go to where the high context culture is dominant. And now I would like to just reiterate the point that there could be lots of different nationalities there who all share the same way of thinking about culture. So there can be different countries who all have high context cultures. So people from different countries, I would say, different corporations and different nationalities, who all share the high context, even though they don't share anything else in relation to culture. They might be completely different, some Hofstede's scales of cultural dimensions, but they all share this high context. And you coming from a low context, that means that you have to interpret the high context culture, and you need to change your ways, because you can't be that direct that you're used to, because that will be considered rude, and that might actually cripple the amount of sales you're able to do and able to perform and able to, get. You need to be, seem more polite. Even though you might think that you're really polite, you perhaps need to spin on it a bit more. You need to see what is the dress code. If the dress code is, let's say, smart casual, and you turn up in a suit, they might think that you're better than they are, which is also something crazy. When as I think of it, it's just good manners, just good dressing. But some people might interpret that as, oh, look at Mr. Big Shot over here. So you need to what you would say, to tailor the way that your culture is in relation to the other culture, and see what are the differences. This is what I have to work on, because the one culture I'm part of, that comes natural to me. However, I need to think about these points, because all of these people will have this in mind naturally, and I need to cater to that since they're the dominant culture. And then the last point on this slide, cultures were monarchonic in that they prefer to organize and schedule things sequentially, while other cultures are polychronic in that they are categorized by the simultaneous occurrence of many different activities. Now, that was a bit rough and rocky, I know, but that is yet again going back to the point that I made several days ago about the one from the US going in, looking through a list of options, going in from A to Z, while someone from the Middle East perhaps is more inclined to do, well, let's go through B, then D, then G, F, A, Z, Q, going through the points in a more polycentric manner. I would say, kind of, if you have a decentralized structure, that you're able to do that. That, of course, stems from culture, and that can also be that if you are from a high context culture, you might want to look at all of the points in a different way. And if you address it could be that if I'm from a low context culture and I get to a high context culture and I'm going to make a sell, I'm going to discuss something, and we're looking at the contract. If I just go through everything from A to Z, people there might think, well, this guy is not interested in us at all. He just wants to go through it as fast as possible and then wants to get it all over with. Yes, that is one possibility. There is one consequence. There's a potential threat there, yes, because of if you're high context or low context culture. I hope that I shed some light upon this. High context, anyway, is that you're looking towards the surroundings, you're looking at the context, you're not very direct in your language and not very direct in your opinions either. Sweden, in my opinion, even though we're not, apparently, but that's my perception of Sweden. However, as low context is more direct, what are we going to do? What is the business objective here? Let's discuss it. Let's do it in a sequential matter. The mono... Oh my days, it was such a hard word. Gotta learn something new today. Monochronic, exactly. The monochronic way of doing things, while in the high context you're more polychronic, which means going through different steps in a different way. So that was everything from me today, mates. Unfortunately, I'm still in school and I'm tired and hungry and all of that good stuff. And I'm going to move over now to do French for tomorrow. Yes. Anyway, that's it for me today, mates. Unfortunately, yet again, I'm just going to add that I didn't have my supporting documents. We're probably going to go through that survey that I did another day, probably tomorrow, the day after that. But till then, have a nice one, mates. See ya.